She didn't shout it. That's what gutted me. Emily stood in the kitchen doorway, framed by LED light spill from her bedroom. She had her phone in one hand, a plastic tumbler in the other, the kind with fake motivational quotes scrawled in cursive across the side. Slay your day. She looked up from the screen just long enough to say it. You're not even family. Why are you still here? Not a trace of emotion. No sarcasm, no spite. Just blankness. Like she was reading off a grocery list. Like I was a leftover someone forgot to throw out. She turned her back before the silence had a chance to fall. Just walked away. I stood there with the freezer door open, staring into the white hum of ice and old frozen peas, letting the cold wrap around my hand until it burned. My fingers closed around the flash drive hidden behind the frozen blueberries. I pulled it out and set it on the counter next to the ceramic knife block center stage like an offering. Inside the drive, 6 months of itemized expenses, security footage from the hallway camera, and a digital copy of the lease termination Rachel and I had signed. The house would belong to someone else by tomorrow. The silence she left me in, that was earned. Paid for. Signed off. No yelling. No slamming doors. No last-ditch attempt to justify myself. Just math. She could run her little influencer empire from someone else's power outlets now. It started like these things always do, with something small. A gap, a flinch, an unanswered text. When Rachel and I married, Emily was 14, sullen, smart, and already used to disappointment. Her real dad, Scott, was a ghost with a tan. He showed up every few years, all teeth and stories, always late and empty-handed. He'd hug too hard to make up for being gone. Say things like, "I'll be better, I swear," then vanish before the novelty wore off. When he missed her middle school graduation, she didn't even cry. Just sat on the porch with her knees pulled up to her chest, a little tighter than usual. That's when I made the first real mistake. I showed up. I didn't tell her I loved her. I didn't call myself Dad. I just did what needed to be done. I took the night shifts so Rachel could attend the parent-teacher conferences. I fixed the sagging door to Emily's closet. I drove her to cheer practice, stood in the back of the gym, clapping through routines I didn't understand. I never tried to replace Scott. That man had left a void too wide and too jagged to patch over with weekend barbecues and, "How was school?" I just held the line. She noticed. She didn't say much, but I started getting texts. "Can you pick me up?" Or, "Need money for a field trip." Small things. There was even a stretch, right around 16, when she smiled at me. Real smiles. Tired ones. But they meant something. Back then, Rachel said things like, "She's warming up to you. Just give it time." And I believed her. Because hope, when you're desperate enough, sounds a lot like logic. The truth is, I thought I was building something. With every grocery run, every last-minute school supply, every forgotten birthday party I paid for and quietly photographed from the background, I thought I was earning a seat at the table. Not the head. I never wanted that. Just a seat. Just enough to not have to justify my presence every time I open my own fridge. But kids grow. They don't grow into who you raised. They grow into what the world pays attention to. And the world paid attention to Emily, not because of who she was, but because of what she could become on camera. When she turned 21, everything changed. And not all at once. No, it never happens like that. First, it was her tone. That subtle curl at the edge of her voice that said, "I'm tolerating you." Then came the space. Her room became a fortress. Lights on all night. UPS deliveries by the dozen. Ring lights, foam panels, boxes of sponsored skincare products stacked like bricks outside the door. She dropped out of college halfway through her 3rd semester. Announced it at dinner like a job promotion. Rachel clapped. "She's finally passionate about something," she said. As if that explained why we now owed $4,000 in deferred tuition. I didn't argue. I paid the overdue balance the next morning. That was mistake number 2. A week later, the electric bill came in $120 higher than normal. I asked Emily to maybe shut off the rig when she wasn't filming. She looked up from her editing screen, blinked, deadpan, and said, "That's not my problem. Talk to Mom. I didn't ask for you." That line. I didn't ask for you. It didn't even sound angry. Just factual. Like she was correcting a spreadsheet. I nodded. Walked away. I'd installed security cams last year after Rachel's jewelry went missing during a party. Nothing fancy. Just hallway feeds and an external cam pointed at the driveway. I never planned to use them for anything personal. Then, one night, I walked past her room and heard her laugh. It was loud, exaggerated, the kind she only used when she was live. Curious, I checked the feed from her camera. She'd re-angled it to catch her bed and part of the vanity. The chat was scrolling fast, hearts, fire emojis, the usual echo chamber of strangers throwing approval at pixels. I couldn't hear the audio clearly from her side, but then she leaned into the mic and said, I live with this guy who thinks he's important just because he pays the bills. It's pathetic. Chat erupted in laughter. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. I watched her grin and take a sip from that same tumbler she held when she told me I wasn't family. Then I closed the window, got up, went to my office. I opened Excel, built a spreadsheet. Every dollar, every item, every month tracked. Her microphone? Mine. The camera lens? Bought with my card. The lighting rig that ran all night and made our walls buzz with heat? I knew the serial number. Every cord. Every screw. Every cent documented. At 2:15 a.m., I drafted the lease notice. I didn't write it in anger. I didn't even feel angry. It felt more like gravity finally working the way it was supposed to. I just stopped pretending that proximity was the same thing as family. The next morning, I left the flash drive on the kitchen counter. No note, no explanation, just evidence, just facts. Let her decide now who held this house together. And if she still believed I was not even family, then she'd have to say it again, but this time in a room she was paying for herself. The flash drive sat there for 2 days. I watched it collect dust like a tombstone in a kitchen no one wanted to clean. Emily never touched it, never asked. Just kept walking past it with her earbuds in and her robe tied too loose, looking like she belonged to a better life. One where the fridge filled itself and the lights hummed for free. She still filmed every night. Still talked to that bright ring of artificial daylight like it loved her. Still laughed into a camera that didn't care who paid to keep the house from collapsing around her fake sets and real bills. Rachel said nothing about the drive. Maybe she didn't notice. Or maybe she noticed and decided it wasn't her problem either. That's how it always was with her, neglect in soft focus. She used to speak for both of us. Then, slowly, she stopped speaking at all. I found Emily's Amazon history open one morning on the shared laptop. Not snooping, just routine. She'd ordered 2 new tripods, a replacement backdrop, and some beauty lamps shaped like a heart. All expedited. All on my card. The same card I'd pulled the number from 2 nights ago. Her order was still processing. I canceled all of it. That afternoon, I opened her studio door while she was live. No knock. Just turned the knob and stepped in. Her face was half made, half finished. Glitter on one cheek, nothing on the other. She turned toward me with a tight, fake smile. I'm filming. I know, I said, walking in calm. She muted her mic. Seriously? Can this wait? I canceled your orders. That cracked her mask. Just a little. What? The tripods. The heart lamp. The green screen. I looked around her room. The chaos of wires and packaging. The ring light casting a halo she hadn't earned. You bought it all with my card. That ended last week. The number's been changed. Her lips parted, ready to argue. But the stream was still running. She didn't want her audience seeing her lose control. That was always the edge she danced on, chaos but curated. She turned back to the screen. Sorry guys, technical issue. I'll be back soon. Then she ended the stream without waiting for comments. Now the mask dropped. Why are you sabotaging me? She hissed. I didn't raise my voice. I'm not. I'm cutting the cord. You said I wasn't family. I'm just agreeing with you. She laughed. It wasn't real. God, you're so dramatic. You act like paying the bills makes you important. You think that gives you control over me? No, I said. I don't need control. I need clarity. You told me I'm not family. So I'm not. So I won't act like it. Her eyes darted to the door, maybe expecting Rachel to step in, save her from the conversation she started. But Rachel wasn't coming. She never came when I needed her to. You're overreacting. No, I said again. I'm reacting. Finally. She shoved past me and stormed into the hallway, muttering under her breath. I let her go. She had until midnight to figure out what her new life would look like. A life without my name on the Wi-Fi, on the lease, on the bills. I was done being invisible and indispensable. At 9:42 p.m. that night, I got a notification. She'd gone live again. I pulled it up out of instinct. Old habits. The title. Kicked out for being honest broken heart. The ring light was on. Her lips were glossed. She wore a hoodie too big for her frame, designed to look fragile but innocent. She even sniffled once on cue. I just told the truth, she said to the camera, voice trembling. I said this guy I live with isn't even my real family, and now he's kicking me out. The chat exploded. WTF, you don't deserve this. Abusive male energy strikes again. Move out, girl. You're better than him. She didn't correct them. Didn't say my name. Didn't explain that I'd paid her phone bill last week, or that the bed she was crying on was mine, bought after her old one broke. She let the lie build its own scaffolding. That's how she survived, on scaffolding. The next morning, the flash drive was gone. She didn't say a word, didn't ask where she'd go. But I noticed her filming less that day. Less laughter, less confidence. Maybe it had something to do with the email I forwarded her from the landlord. Unit will be vacated by December 1st. No sublets. No renewals. Or maybe it was the group text I sent to Rachel and her. I'm officially removing my name from any future utilities. Please ensure all services are transferred. Effective immediately. I didn't expect a reply. I didn't get one. 3 days later, she was still in the house. Her ring light was gone. So were the LED panels. Her door stayed closed most of the time. Rachel finally asked about the lease. Not angry. Just flat, tired. Is this really necessary? I didn't look up from my coffee. You know what she said. She's a kid. They say stupid things. I stared at her. She's 21. She knows what words mean. Rachel opened her mouth. Closed it. That was her tell. Her way of silently choosing the path of least resistance, which never pointed in my direction. You could have talked to me first, she said. I did. I said. For years. You just didn't listen. Rachel turned away. No apology. Just absence. That was when it hit me. The betrayal wasn't Emily's alone. Rachel had stopped defending me a long time ago. She just never said it out loud. Emily left the next night. No big scene. Just the sound of wheels on tile as she dragged her pink suitcase down the hallway. Rachel stood in the living room, arms folded, watching without speaking. I didn't ask where Emily was going. Didn't offer money. Didn't remind her that the security deposit was non-refundable. She paused at the front door, keys dangling from her hand, then turned to me. I didn't mean it like that. I blinked. Mean what? That I said you weren't family. I didn't respond. I was frustrated. That's all. You were honest, I said. She stared at me. Her expression was complicated. Maybe there was guilt there. Maybe not. Anyway, she muttered. Thanks for everything, I guess. Then she closed the door behind her. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anger either. Just space. The kind you don't notice until someone else finally vacates it. The house was quieter, colder, but it was mine again. Later that week, a package came, addressed to me. Inside was the flash drive, same one I'd left on the counter. Taped to it was a sticky note. You're right. I took too much. No name, no apology, just acknowledgement. It didn't fix anything, but it proved she'd opened the files. She knew now what things cost, what I'd carried, what she'd thrown away. I didn't tell Rachel about the note. Didn't feel like it mattered. Some things, once broken, don't need to be mended. They just need to be removed. It took less than 48 hours for the internet to catch fire. Emily's clip, the one where she cried into her webcam, said she was kicked out for being honest, was clipped, stitched, reshared, by strangers, by followers, by people who didn't know me but were certain of one thing. I was the villain. She deserves better. Another abusive stepdad with control issues. These men think money buys love. The words poured in, faceless and confident. A parade of digital pitchforks, all aimed at the man off camera, the one who worked nights to keep the lights on, who paid for the camera she cried into. I read them once, then never again. But I didn't have to. Emily watched them all. She fed on them, liked the comments that hit hardest, shared the ones that burned longest. She didn't name me, that would have been too real. She just sculpted the absence, let the audience fill it in. But truth has a way of surfacing. It happened when one of her coworkers, barista, part-time, same coffee shop she filmed in sometimes, stumbled across the video and commented, "Wait, you don't even pay rent?" 10 words. That was the tear in the curtain. The replies changed. Some still supported her, but others began to dig. And once people start digging, they don't stop. Soon someone found the public lease info. Someone else pulled her Amazon wishlist, the one I'd unknowingly fulfilled. The story shifted. So you lived rent-free and insulted the guy who paid for your lifestyle? This ain't abuse. It's accountability. And the worst one, for her. Maybe he wasn't your real dad, but he sounds like the only one who ever showed up. The comments froze, then disappeared. The video was pulled. She went silent. A week later, I was in the garage, sorting through a box of old hardware cables and expired warranties, when I heard the side door creak open. It was her. Not the version of her that went viral. No lashes, no lighting, no costume. Just Emily. Hoodie. Eyes rimmed red. Phone nowhere in sight. She stood by the door for a long time, hands shoved into her sleeves. "I saw the spreadsheet," she said, "and the footage." I didn't say anything. Her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. "You did a lot. I treated you like a stranger." Still, I said nothing, because it wasn't enough. She waited like she expected a speech, an outstretched hand, maybe even a lecture, something she could walk away from feeling forgiven. But I wasn't offering that. I wasn't offering anything. Eventually, she nodded to herself, a kind of internal surrender. Then she walked back out, quiet, smaller than I remembered. And that was it. Rachel didn't ask about the garage conversation. She'd started walking around me like I was furniture. We passed each other in the hallway and pretended we weren't ghosts in the same house. She still paid for Emily's phone, at least for now. I noticed the utilities were transferred the following week. The electric bill was smaller, the Wi-Fi faster, the house quieter. Funny how things improved once someone stopped draining the system. Emily didn't post for a while. Her last update was a selfie with the caption, "Taking time to reset. Energy drama." No one mentioned me. No one had to. 3 weeks after she moved out, I saw her at the grocery store. She didn't see me. She was at the self-checkout, counting singles out of her wallet, rescanning items, looking frustrated. A bag of frozen shrimp went back on the shelf. She was learning. Late, but learning. I watched from the next aisle, unseen. Not with pride. Not with spite. Just distance. The kind I should have claimed years ago. Because what they don't tell you about step-parenting is this. You're always a visitor. Even when you pay the mortgage. Even when you raise the child. Even when you bleed for a family that isn't yours by name, only by need. You're temporary. And when the need runs out, so does your welcome. The landlord called to confirm final walkthrough. I told him to send the paperwork to Rachel directly. I'd already removed my name. He asked if we were divorcing. I said no. But I didn't mean it. Because something had ended. Not the marriage, maybe, but the illusion of partnership. The sense that I was seen, heard, wanted. Rachel still moved through the house like a sleepwalker. She didn't bring up Emily. She didn't bring up me. We spoke in fragments, grocery lists, weather, logistics. But the silences between those words said more than I ever could. She had picked her side. She picked it by staying quiet when Emily mocked me. She picked it by defending her daughter's ambition instead of calling out her contempt. She picked it the moment she let a man fund their comfort and still sleep in a bed made of distance. And now I had picked mine. I saw Emily again a month later. She came to the house, just for a minute, just to return an envelope. Inside receipts, rent, groceries, prepaid phone bill. She wasn't asking for help. She was proving she didn't need it. "I got a job," she said, standing awkwardly at the front door. "A real one, not just content." "Good," I said. She looked down. "It's not much, but I'm doing it. On my own." I nodded. Then she asked the question that twisted something sharp in my ribs. "Do you hate me?" I looked at her, not as a daughter, not even as a stranger, but as someone who had once been a child in a house I tried to build. "No," I said. "I don't hate you." Pause. "I believed you." She frowned. "Believed what?" "That I wasn't family." The words landed. She swallowed. "I didn't mean. But you said it." I cut in. "And I heard you. And now I'm living like it's true." She nodded slowly. Not in agreement, but in understanding. And that was more than I expected. Later that night, Rachel asked if I thought Emily would come around. "She's trying," she said. I didn't respond, because trying isn't the same as repairing. And some things can't be repaired, not because they're broken, but because they were never truly whole. She said, "You could forgive her, you know?" I said, "I did, but forgiveness doesn't mean return. Forgiveness is just the closing of the account." Emily never asked to come back. She visited once more 6 weeks after the last time, stood at the threshold holding a Tupperware container of lemon cookies, like that was enough to patch history. Rachel accepted them with a smile too wide to be honest. They made small talk. I didn't come out of the study. She didn't ask for me. She didn't ask about me. And that was the final confirmation. She'd learned her lesson, maybe, grown up a little, paid her own bills, said thank you to a landlord, cried alone once or twice when the groceries ran out before the money did. But learning how to function isn't the same as reckoning with what you destroyed. She never said she was sorry. Not for the videos. Not for the ridicule. Not for looking me in the eye and calling me a stranger in my own house. And so I didn't open the container. I set it on the counter and watched it grow stale. By day 5, the cookies had hardened into brittle yellow discs. Rachel eventually threw them away. Didn't ask. Didn't comment. She knew better by then. There's a particular silence that comes after abandonment. Not the loud kind. Not the slammed doors or raised voices or declarations of betrayal. That kind of abandonment is theatrical. At least it leaves you with something to push back against. No, the real silence is quieter. Heavier. It's made of all the words no one says. The birthdays unacknowledged. The glances avoided in hallways. The sudden politeness after years of living like a unit. It's walking into a kitchen where someone once said, "You're not even family," and realizing that everyone else in the house silently agreed with her. They just didn't say it out loud. That's what life became after Emily left. Not empty, just exposed. The myth was broken, and in its place was something colder, sharper, but undeniably true. I had carried them, both of them, longer than I should have. Emily with her ambition, Rachel with her passivity. I had funded their dreams, built them a life buffered from consequence, and in return, I'd been given the role of financial shadow, present but never praised, necessary but never acknowledged. And when the light finally hit just right, they made their choice. It wasn't me. People ask or would ask if I told them the whole story, whether I regret it. The years, the money, the time I'll never get back. And the answer's complicated. I don't regret the sacrifices. I regret thinking they meant something. I regret believing that loyalty could be purchased through quiet endurance. That presence was enough. That consistency would eventually lead to connection. But connection, I've learned, is not built on effort alone. It's built on invitation. And I was never invited. I was tolerated. Temporarily. Because I was useful. And the moment my usefulness wore thin, the truth rose up like rot under wallpaper. I wasn't family. I was furniture. Emily's life moved on. She got a studio apartment in the city. Started splitting rent with a girl who sold jewelry online. I know because Rachel told me casually over dinner one night. Emily's thinking about doing a product line. Hair stuff. Maybe a brand deal. I nodded. She wants to do it all herself, Rachel added, like it was proof of growth. Like independence was the same thing as repair. I said nothing, because by then, I'd learned. Some things aren't meant to be fixed, only finished. Rachel and I stayed married. On paper, we still shared a bed most nights, still filed taxes jointly, still split groceries and watched the occasional show in silence. But something had cracked between us, too. Something irreparable. She never defended me. Not really. Even after everything, she'd never said, Emily was wrong. Never said, you deserved better. She just kept moving, hoping maybe that time would sew up the rift she didn't want to look at directly. But I did look. I looked every time I opened my banking app and saw all the payments I no longer made. I looked every time I saw a pile of bills and remembered how many of them had once carried my name. Unthanked, unnoticed. And I looked at her too. Really looked. Not as a partner. Not anymore. But as someone I had once chosen to build a life with, and who, when the weight came crashing down, didn't bother to lift a single stone off my chest. Sometimes I wonder what Emily tells people now. Does she tell them she was raised by a single mom? That her stepdad kicked her out unfairly? That she clawed her way to adulthood without help? Does she ever mention the field trip I funded in 9th grade? The late-night pharmacy run when she had food poisoning? The $300 she needed for her senior prom dress? Money I pulled from a weekend gig sanding drywall for a client who never paid on time? Does she remember? And more importantly, does she care? I doubt it. Some people build their identity around struggle, even when their lives were cushioned by the sweat of others. Especially then. There's this picture on our mantle. Rachel keeps it there like a reminder of simpler times. It's from when Emily was 16. The three of us at a pumpkin patch. Rachel is smiling. Emily is pretending not to, and I'm behind them holding 2 coffees and a tote bag full of scarves. The picture's framed in cheap glass. I used to think it was proof that we'd built something real. Now I see it for what it was. Performance. A single captured moment that suggested belonging without ever requiring it. A lie with good lighting. I haven't taken it down. Not out of sentiment. Just inertia. Like so many things in this house. But I don't look at it anymore. Not really. Here's what I've learned. And I'm not telling you this because I want sympathy. I don't need your sympathy. I've lived through worse than disrespect. I've endured longer silences. I've bled in quieter rooms. I'm telling you this because no one ever tells you what happens to men like me. We're taught that if we love hard enough, sacrifice long enough, show up consistently enough, we will earn family. But that's a lie. You don't earn family. You are either welcomed in, or you aren't. And if you aren't, no amount of patience will change that. They'll take your money, your labor, your time, your sleep, but they won't give you the name. And when they're done with you, when you say no, finally, they'll call you cruel. That's the final insult. That stepping away is the crime, not everything that led you there. So here I am, still in the same house, still paying half the mortgage. But lighter. I don't fund her projects anymore. I don't subsidize apologies I never received. I don't step into roles no one wants me in. When someone says, you're not even family, believe them the first time, and then act like it. Let them sit with their words. Let them try to feed themselves with pride. Because pride doesn't pay the rent. Pride doesn't keep the lights on. And when the bill finally comes due, and it always does, you won't be there to soften the fall. That's not cruelty. That's math. So now I ask you, whoever you are, wherever you're reading this from, was I wrong? Was I wrong to walk away from a title I was never truly given? Was I wrong to let them live in the shadow they claimed wasn't mine? Would you have kept paying for love that never came? Would you have stayed? Or would you, like me, have finally let go? And if you had, would that make you heartless? Or just finally honest?